Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Leading from Alignment with our good friend and coach, John Opalewski. How are you today, John?
Jim, I'm doing well. It's been a great time visiting with you
Yeah.
before we started recording today. Just appreciate your friendship. Always look forward to doing this. And my favorite part of it is spending time with you.
Right on. Well, we are part of each other's band of brothers, right?
That's
That's
right.
that's part of it. I have a handful of people in my life that I need to make a big decision or I'm going through a hard time. These are the people I call. There's only a handful of them, and you're one of those handful of people.
Mm.
So I'm really glad I haven't had a lot of big decisions or hard times. Otherwise, we just get to enjoy this. Hey, tell us about episode 246 and what's on your
Yeah.
heart for everybody today.
Yeah. The title is called Four Master Keys to Beating Discouragement.
Yeah.
Um, I think discouragement is the universal experience of leadership.
Yeah. At the surprising universal experience of leadership. We don't see
That's
it
right.
coming, and yet it's universal. Yeah.
Yeah. Every leader, no matter how seasoned or successful,
Hmm.
has those moments of despair
Yeah.
where they ask themselves, can I get through this? Can
Yeah.
when's this going to be over? This tough
Yeah.
stretch I'm going through, and if it goes unchecked, it can even descend into, am I the right
Yeah.
guy or the right gal for the job?
Yeah.
Uh, uh, and some leaders are discouraged about a lot of things, right? Like
Sure.
for some, it's not having enough leaders or workers. Others are worried about the organization's cash flow.
Yeah.
Some leaders are some pastors are unhappy with their attendance trajectory.
Yeah.
I was just having a conversation with a pastor. I think this was last week, and we were talking about July. And I told him that as a lead pastor, every July I wanted to resign. I
Yeah.
went,
It's a tradition. Yeah. Happy Independence Day.
that's right.
Yeah.
Um, and there are some of us that have gone through extended seasons of discouragement where we start to doubt our calling,
Yeah.
our capability and in our value. I think some prematurely exit ministry because this discouragement thing has become chronic
Yeah.
in their world. And I'd like to spend some time today normalizing that
Yeah.
and then talking about what we might be able to do when those moments hit us. So, Jim, just what do you think about the subject today?
Yeah, no, I think fear, pain, discouragement, they all make lies believable. I want
Mm,
out. I'm in pain. I want out. This is scary. I want out. I'm discouraged. I want out. We start looking for the exit when those things happen. And I think part of that is a survival instinct, but
yeah,
I'm not supposed to listen to my feelings. I'm supposed to listen to a different voice. And I think
right.
that's so hearing you say this, what you're about to say to us, I think is very important because we need to encourage ourselves in the Lord if there's nothing else around us that's encouraging. We need to have words memorized so that when
Mm,
when doubts and fears and pain comes, we can say something to it besides stop picking on me. Because if you say stop picking on
yeah,
me to a bully, that's the quickest way to a bloody nose.
that's right.
So that's not. I appreciate this. So if they're discouraged, you need to listen. But if you're not discouraged, you need to listen because
Yeah,
sooner or later we're all going to need these words. So I look forward to
yeah.
it.
Yeah, here's a thought that has just been reverberating in my mind,
Yeah.
Jim. Some seasons are just plain hard,
Yeah. Yep.
and some seasons are just plain awesome. But
Yeah.
most seasons are a mixture of the two,
Yeah.
where there's awesomeness and
Mhm.
less than awesomeness
Yeah.
going down the same train track at the same time. I think about Elijah the prophet and John the Baptist, these guys who had these incredible ministries and callings and
Yeah.
incredible experiences with God. Um, but if you really know their stories, you understand these guys struggled with
Oh,
discouragement at
brutal.
times, and some of it was, I mean, a deep and significant discouragement.
Yeah.
Like Elijah got so depressed that he asked God to kill him.
Yeah.
John the Baptist was so discouraged while he was in prison that he he sent his followers to ask Jesus, "Are you the guy? Are you the
Right.
Messiah?"
For what?
Um,
Yeah. When are you going to do this? Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
so, I think everybody who's a pastor would probably agree with this statement that God's call in your life, and when you understand that and you get to live that out, it's fulfilling.
Yeah.
I mean, doing what you are gifted to do, what you love to do, what you're passionate about, is amazing. But here's what I think all pastors know as well, that calling, gifting, and passion don't exempt us
Mm-mm.
from these times where we just think, God, I'm not sure I want to keep doing this.
Yeah.
And so I'd like that to be kind of the foundational piece, the foundational layer, I guess, to what we're going to talk about. These four keys, and I think these
Yeah.
are I use the word master keys, and I hope that doesn't sound hyped up. I really believe
Yeah.
these are foundational to dealing with those seasons of discouragement in our life. So I'd like to just roll through those together
Yeah.
with
Right
you,
on it.
Jim.
Yeah. Hit me.
Yeah, here's the first key to beating discouragement, and that's to take the long view.
Okay.
Take the long view. I mean, we already said it. Every leader has a difficult day or week
Yeah.
or month or quarter or whatever time frame you would think. Occasionally that is going to happen. And the temptation to obsess over what's going wrong today can fool you into thinking that tomorrow is going to be the same.
Yes.
Uh, One of the things that I've done, here's just a real practical piece of this long view, is instead of looking week to week at how we're doing as an organization, Converge Coaching,
Yeah.
I take a quarterly view.
Yeah.
So we have a couple bad weeks in a row. It's like, okay, I don't like that, but that doesn't 2 weeks don't make a quarter.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so just expanding my view of how I'm measuring what's going on in my world uh, uh, has helped me tremendously not to be on that roller coaster.
Yeah.
For a pastor, I think, the roller coaster for pastors primarily is attendance, and that's a roller coaster, and
Sure.
giving, and that's a roller coaster,
Yep. Yep.
and so if you're hanging on pins and needles every week on attendance and
Wow.
giving, man, you are on a ride that
Yeah.
I'm not sure I want to jump on that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you have a bad day, you have a bad week, you have a bad
Right.
month, when people disappoint you,
Yeah.
when you disappoint you, keep running your race.
Right.
Take the long view. And I believe this is true, that discouragement might be proof you're on a path the devil is worried about.
Mhm.
So what do you think about this first one, Jim, the long view?
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right because a lost battle is not the same as a lost war,
There you go.
and a victorious battle is not the same as a victorious war. A
There
battle
you go.
is made of a day, but a war is made of 1,000 days. So to
Mhm.
take a day and go, we're losing, we're the Nazis are beating us. So they're not. They're you learn something from the defeat even, but you keep that long
Mhm.
view of I'm here because God sent me. I I do not have the luxury of quitting. I only have the mandate to finish. So I don't. I might as well get over that thought. I'm going to leave. When we first came to Fenton, one of the things that somebody gave us the wisdom, I think it was Bill Leach, said, "Listen, if you're going to go to that church, make sure you say for the first 2 years we will not discuss in any way, shape, or form leaving because it's going to be a hard transition. So
Yeah.
just get in there, put your nose to the grindstone. They can fire you, but you don't quit in the first 2 years." And I was really glad because there was not many weeks that went by that there wasn't a good reason numerically, financially, emotionally to run
Yeah.
for our lives in that first year. And if we hadn't had that agreement that we won't discuss it, we won't entertain
Yeah.
it, we'll pray it away. That's not God's will for our life. There's a really good chance we would have found something, better or else or less painful to do with our lives.
Yeah.
So that commitment to win is huge. And by win, I mean obey. The
There
commitment
you
to
go.
obey the one who sent you has to win every argument, even if you're in pain. And
Yeah.
and the sooner we get over that, the better, right? This is a
Yeah.
marathon. It's not a sprint. So if we pull a hamstring 20 miles into it, that's going to make the last 6.2 miles hard, but you're going to finish what you started because this is
Yeah.
a marathon we're running. And I love the perspective. I'm going to have bad days or even bad months, but the first year, every pastor goes, "It's spring, we're growing. Oh, it's summer. Oh, we're going the wrong way. Oh, it's fall, we're growing. Oh, it's winter. And you don't realize till 2 or 3 years in, every spring goes up, and it's Mother's Day and Easter. Of course, numbers went up. That's. But then it's summertime. Everybody's on vacation, including your workers, including your
Yeah.
worship team, including your head usher. It feels like you're the last. Like you said, by July, it feels like you're the last person who cares about this place.
Yeah.
And you may be, but care about it till everybody gets back, and they'll pick up caring about it when they're done taking their break. So
That's right.
yeah, I
So
believe summers are the season you work twice as hard to achieve half as much. Get over it. That's the way it is. Build deep roots if you can't build broad branches. But
that's so
spend
good.
spend meaningful time with people. Build your leadership team over dinners and campfires and s'mores, and it's don't waste it because it's not the right number.
Yeah.
So I know I could go on and on about this because it really killed me. The first few years, what you're talking about was very discouraging, and it wasn't real. It was a
Yeah.
mirage.
There you go. One last thought on this first key. Pastor told me last week, he said, "John, when I started working with you, you told me it was going to take 7 years for this to really, settle in and where we were really,
Yeah,
where we should be." And he said, "I didn't believe you." And he's been there a little, I think he's been there just over 7 years. Now, might be 8.
yeah,
And, and he said, "Yeah, it's taken
there
that
we are.
long."
Yeah,
He said, "And the church is as healthy as it's ever been."
yeah,
But it took 7+ years to get there. So take the
yeah.
long view. If you're discouraged
Love it.
today, take the long view. Here's the second key and that's to take the rear view.
Okay.
The rear view. I would encourage you to take a step back and look at how far you've come.
Hmm.
Celebrate your progress.
Right.
Jim, this one is one I have to do a better job at.
Hmm.
Because we've been in a real growth mode the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And when that growth mode, and even in a growth mode, Jim, it's not a straight line. It's like up
Yeah.
and down and up and down as you're
Yeah.
growing. I forget sometimes where we've come from. And so celebrating, wow, man, look at where we were 3 years ago and where we are now.
Yeah.
That helps us
Yeah.
when we're discouraged, thanking God for all the open doors in the last 3 years, the wins,
Right.
the lessons learned, the lives touched.
Yeah.
And I think when we do that, I think we'll find ourselves encouraged.
Yeah.
Um, you know, when King David was at a low point in his calling, so low, in fact, that his men wanted to whack him.
Yeah.
Uh, the scripture tells us that David encouraged himself in the Lord. Now, you already talked about that.
Yeah.
Having that rehearsed truth
Right.
in those moments. I've learned this about myself, Jim, that when I get discouraged, sometimes I sit there too long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I do much better in those moments when I open up my journal and I start reading entries from 6 months ago, 8 months ago, a year ago that highlight answers to prayer or miraculous provision.
Mm-hmm.
And when I take the rear view like that, I find that the discouragement lessens.
Sure.
What do you
Yeah.
think about this second one of taking the rear view?
Yeah. Well, we can only think one thought at a time. And you don't like, well, if I were to tell everybody listening, whatever you do, don't think about penguins. Well, everybody started thinking about penguins as soon as I said it. But I said, listen, let's talk about giraffes for a few moments. How long their neck is. I wonder if they make a sound. How does a giraffe fight? They protect itself against a lion. What we've done is we've stopped thinking about penguins, not because we're trying to stop thinking about penguins, but because we started to think about giraffes. So discouraging thoughts, you can't mix them. They have to be substituted. They have to be replaced. So to encourage yourself in the Lord, you literally have to stop thinking about that which discourages. And that rear view doesn't negate that there's a problem. It says, but look at what God
Right.
has done with past problems. Look at what,
Yeah.
when I was here 6 months ago, this is what God has done in the last 6 months. What now should my expectation be about the future? Before you know it, you're thinking about giraffes instead of penguins. You're thinking about
Yeah.
encouragement rather than discouragement. It's an anatomical, it's a biological function. You cannot think two
Right.
thoughts at the same time. The longer you dwell on discouragement, the harder it is to be encouraged. So why waste any time? Really, once you identified the pain of discouragement, the cure is truth that can speak louder and with more authority than the facts that are discouraging you now. So,
And I think it's that historical truth that
yes,
I take that look back.
yeah,
The Bible talks about remembering.
yeah,
Remember the
yeah,
works of the Lord. Remember,
yeah,
and I'm in the Old Testament right now, and there's so many sections of the Old Testament that say, "Remember what God did for you in Egypt,
mm-hmm.
how He delivered you out of
Yeah,
Pharaoh's hand." And so this second key is really a remembering
it is.
function.
Yeah, it is.
And so yeah, take the long view if you're discouraged, but also take the rear view.
Yeah, remind
Spend
yourself.
some time rehearsing the wonderful works of God,
Yeah,
and I suspect that that will help you manage your discouragement level.
yes, yeah, good, very good.
Yeah. Here's the third one.
Yeah,
Take the upward view.
yeah,
The upward view. Father God is the ultimate encourager. Nobody's
yes,
better at it than him.
yes,
Uh, and I want to say this to our pastor friends that are watching and listening. You're not fulfilling your calling on your own.
mm-hmm.
You're not alone.
Yeah,
It might feel that way,
right.
but God is with you. He's for you, and He loves you.
Yeah,
And when you're discouraged, you can tell yourself, God, thank you that you're with me,
mm-hmm.
that you're for me, and that you love me
Yeah,
fully. And you might not believe that or be convinced of that in your heart,
yeah,
but I have to speak out loud. I have to talk
mm-hmm.
myself into belief sometime, if that makes
Okay.
any sense.
Yeah, yeah,
And so take the upward view. God is working actively in your situation, whether you can see it or not.
yeah,
He may be trying to teach you something in this moment of feeling discouraged.
yeah.
And so,
Mm,
ask him, God, is there something you're trying to
yeah,
teach me through this? Remember, here, can I just say this, and maybe this will really help? Remember, your name is written in the book of
yeah,
life.
right. Oh, yeah, that's
Everything
so good.
else is gravy.
Right, right.
Everything else is gravy. So when I really get discouraged and I think, this is I'll be super transparent here, and maybe all of our clients will leave us. But there are times when I just think, God, this thing's going to sink.
Yeah, yeah,
But even if it did, that's not the worst
mm,
thing that could happen because my name's written in the book of life. So,
yeah,
Jim, what do you think about this third one, taking the upward view?
yeah. No, it's funny. I'm not discouraged. I'm actually, when we get done, I have lunch with a friend and then I go off for vacation for a week. I'm having
Yeah.
a good day, but I feel my soul lifting just talking about it, just having someone to talk about encouragement with, talking about what the Lord has done, the long view, a vision of what God's going to do based on what I've seen him do. Even someone who's not discouraged is being encouraged by this conversation. And maybe this is that podcast you kind of put aside in your podcasts for the time when you need it, kind of in case of emergency, break glass, podcast, pull down on the lever and set off the fire alarm. Like, this is one, because again, I'm not discouraged, but I feel 20 pounds lighter. And I felt light when I came in, but I feel 20 pounds later because what's happening is any concern that I had is now being kind of drowned by the presence of God, by the goodness of God, by and morning caffeine. All these things together make me a happy
Yes.
camper,
Yeah.
So I just think you're right on, John. And I think that life doesn't speak to us this way. life speaks to us, hey, I need to have a meeting with you. Hey, I want to talk to you about something. Have that number, that thing, that personality. We're having marriage problems, we're having financial problems. Pastor, be God. And that's, man, that's just too much. But to say, hey, we have a God. I can resign from that position of being God. I'm not the creator or the sustainer of the universe. I just think you're doing more with your words today, John, than maybe we're going to realize today. I believe these words will make a difference long term. So, yeah.
Yeah. One of my good friends, Michael Forney, Michael is he's a regional superintendent for the Free Methodist Church, and he's just a swell guy.
Yeah.
And he told me a story about he went on a 40-day fast. I don't know how long ago this was, 10 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And he was determined, I'm going to hear from God. God is going to show me all kinds of amazing things. He had his journal ready out and open. And he said, John, the first day I heard, Michael, I'm God and you're not. He said, that's the only thing I heard from the Lord that whole day. He said, day 2, same deal, Michael.
Yeah.
I'm God and you're not. And he said, I was so frustrated.
Really? That's a great word. To me, that was a great relief.
Well, eventually, Michael got with the program, right? And it was oh.
Yeah.
And he said, John, that was one of the most freeing things the Lord's ever spoken to me.
Yeah.
I'm not God. I don't have to be.
No.
And so this third key, take the upward view. You would think, we wouldn't have to talk about this with pastors, but I was a pastor for 16 years, man.
Oh, yeah.
I needed somebody in my ear saying, John, look up.
Yes.
John, take this to the Lord. What's he trying to teach you? Don't forget that you're a son before you're a pastor.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and a good family with a good father, with a wonderful retirement program. Like you're saying, my name's written in the Lamb's Book of Life. If it all falls apart and I starve to death, the next thing I'll understand is the abundance of heaven. I'm just being exaggerative for effect, but I had somebody, this was years ago, someone threatened to kill me. I was street witnessing and he had a weapon. I'm going to kill you. And without thinking, I said, do it, because I'll go to heaven, you'll go to prison, and we'll both be where we want to be. It's a dumb, terrible thing to say. Dumb thing to say.
Yeah, we're not recommending that
no,
approach,
that's
right?
This podcast is now rated PG-13 for violence and stupidity. But no, that I just think that the perspective, then fix your eyes on things above. Moth and rust, and keep going. Ohio State football, the IRS, whatever vexes you, it's not there, man. You know what I mean? It is not there. Jesus is there. And that's why it never gets old. The streets of gold will get old. The crystal sea will be what we swim in or drink out of. It won't be any big deal in 10 years, but Jesus will never get old. And that's what's waiting for us when we finish, not quit, when we finish this race. That's what we get to enjoy. Yeah.
Well, let me give you one more, Jim, because I know we're starting to bump up against time. And so we've talked about taking the long view, taking the rear view, taking the upward view. Here's the last one. Take the side view.
Okay.
When discouragement darkens your door and you can't shake it, call on a trusted friend to come alongside you.
Yes.
Find a coach.
Yeah.
I want to say that again. Find a trusted friend.
Yeah.
Find a coach.
Yeah.
When you're discouraged, the devil has a game plan for you, and that's to isolate you in that discouragement so he can crush you.
Yeah.
We want to encourage you to not play that game with him and try community instead. Yeah. So I've experienced this, that the side view gives me a clearer perspective.
Yeah.
When you and I share a burden with a trusted friend or a coach, we tend to see that discouraging situation more accurately. When we try to carry it on our own, I think the issue often grows disproportionate to reality.
Mm-hmm.
The side view, relationships. According to a massive Barna study in 2017, that was published in 2017. They interviewed 14,000 evangelical lead pastors.
Wow.
66% of those pastors said they had no close friends.
Yeah.
Jim, I hate that statistic.
Yeah. It's dangerous.
I hate it.
Yeah.
If we want to beat discouragement, I'm pretty sure there are going to be moments where the me taking the long view, the rear view, and the upward view isn't going to be enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need the side view.
Yeah.
What do you think about this fourth one?
We've talked about it, but I had a significant burnout 10 years or so ago. Couldn't feel my own soul. Someone would die, I wouldn't cry. I held a newborn baby in my arms. I didn't feel a thing. I just said something's wrong. And I interpreted all of that data to mean my season is done. This is killing me. If you're breathing toxic fumes and it's killing you, then get away from the toxic fumes. That was my logic to get out of ministry. And as I began to tell good friends, I was leaving the ministry. Our best friends, deacons, hey, we're looking for a way out, and we're trying to find a replacement so the ship doesn't sink. Buddy of mine in law enforcement, another friend of mine is a local pastor. We told those three people, all three of them said, before we talk about you leaving, let's talk about the condition of your soul. That side view. The law enforcement guy, I look at blood and guts and things that drive me nuts every single day in Flint, Michigan. So I know what you're talking about, but I think you're misinterpreting a numbness of soul as a lack of calling, and that's not true. You just worked too hard for too long, and you've broken something that now needs to be repaired. I would have never seen that from my perspective, John. I praying about it. I prayed about it. I fasted about it. I read the Bible. Everything I knew to do except talk to somebody who had been where I was and could tell me the way out. So that go fishing with a friend, go play some golf, be honest with people, cry if you have to. And I did. I wept in front of all three of these people saying, I don't know what to do. So I must not be the right guy for the job anymore. And all three of them said, let's not even talk about the job. Let's talk about you. And if we get back to the job, so be it. But let's talk about you. And none of them are trained counselors. None of them are coaches. None of them are, what they were just friends that said, we've been warning you, watching your pace, watching your race, watching you. Right. You ran the first 10 miles of a marathon way too fast. You're going to have a really hard, you got to stop and drink some water, eat a couple of bananas, and then go do it again, and you'll be fine. And I was. They walked me through it. But I guess just hearing somebody else tell me I was going to be okay. This is my favorite John verb, which is a proverb by John Obolewski. My favorite John verb is a burden shared by definition is half as heavy.
Yeah.
And that is a brilliant piece of human insight. So I echo your sentiment. Please, 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 before you make big decisions, before you even draw conclusions in pain, in fear, in discouragement, you got to talk to some trusted people and be honest with them. And if you weep, you weep. That's okay. Right. And then listen to what God has to say to you through people, because sometimes it's hard to hear God's voice, you know, and it's hard not to hear people's voice that know God. So,
well, that's good.
Yeah,
that's really good. So we hope that you're encouraged today by this episode. Some of the greatest men of God in the Bible, women of God in the Bible, suffered incredible seasons of discouragement. And if you're suffering today, similarly, you're in good company.
Yeah.
Take the long view, the rear view, the upward view, and the side view. And I think you'll put discouragement where it belongs.
Yeah.
And that's under your foot.
Yeah.
So, Jim, that's what I have today.
Love it. Well, as always, I know I'd like to conclude it this way, that I don't know who to talk to. I don't know where to turn. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I need counseling, if I need coaching, if I need a half hour with a third party. I don't know what I need. Can we suggest that you get a hold of Converge Coaching? ConvergeCoach.com. That's what we're here to do. First 30 minutes, click on the button. We set up an appointment. It'd be John, myself, one of the team, and we just talk. We listen. We assess. And sometimes it's as simple as saying, stop thinking about penguins. Start thinking about giraffes. And it's going to be the best 30 minutes that you've ever invested in your life, because it gave you the next 30 years properly aligned. And that's what we love doing. And if it's more than that, well, we have a wonderful relationship with counseling. We have a wonderful relationship with coaching. How many people are on the staff now at Converge?
We have 26 on the staff, and 18 of those are coaches.
Yeah. And beyond that, the collective connections of all of those people to whether it's medical, emotional, physical, spiritual. This is
Right.
what we do, and this is what's brought all of us together. So Jesus and a common concern for the pastor, the leader that you are. So if we can help, it would be our joy. So get a hold of us. In the meantime, God bless you. Put this one away, kind of in case of emergency, break glass podcast file, and hopefully you never need it. But if you do, I'm getting ready to go on vacation. We're going to do a lifeboat drill. I think it's a terrible waste of time, unless the boat sinks, and it's a wonderful investment. So this is your lifeboat drill. Make sure it's set to the side. Share it with somebody that's discouraged today, and let's finish our race together. God bless you as you continue to lead from alignment.